I feel like it's been a long time since we've had vignettes in the world of wrestling that have so many people guessing and have so many people talking about it. And there's so many directions that they could go only to let us down. I hate to bring up the bad news, but that's what we're kicking the show off with tonight. Welcome to Squared Circle Radio. I appreciate you being with us, whether you tuned in live, whether you're watching the replay, whether you're listening on podcast. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Chris Belcher. It is a loaded show here on Squared Circle Radio. Again, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. The show is for the fans, by the fans. So for those of you who are hanging out with us live, drop those comments and questions in the chat. I will get to those live. You drive the conversation. I want to talk about what you want to hear about. So you let me know and we will talk about it. If you're listening on podcast, just ignore everything that I just said. The best thing for you to do is rate the show, review the show, follow the show on whatever platform that you have chosen. All right, let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. The wrestling world is buzzing. The wrestling world has been buzzing since yesterday morning about these vignettes with shoes. Whose shoes are they? Whose feet are they? If you're a wrestling fan, you have to know what I'm talking about. It's basically been the only thing on WWE's social media platform over the last 24 hours. No context, no words, just shots of ankles. And then it developed throughout today. So we're going to talk all about that stuff. So here we go. Let's look at, so I've got some graphics here of most of these shoes here. So who's going to fill these shoes is the question we're going to try to answer tonight. Now, I know there's some reports out there from PW Insider, and I know that there was a video on Raw that basically gave it away tonight. And I fully expected to be on here and just fantasy booking and speculate wildly on who was going to fill these shoes. I know that it's seemingly it's put to bed already, but for the fun of it, for the fun of this show, let's talk about it. All right. The first pair of shoes that was shown, as you can see on your YouTube screen, was a pair of dress shoes, very fancy dress shoes. And many people saw this and they said, oh, Gunther is returning. Well, the hole that you poke in that, of course, it looks like Gunther. He would wear something like this, except this person in this clip is wearing socks. And we know that Gunther doesn't wear socks with his suits. So, sort of rules him out, I guess. It would probably still make sense if it was Gunther coming back. Of course, a lot of people want it to be Chris Jericho. And as you go through some of these videos, as Sam Roberts likes to point out, Chris Jericho has a bit of swagger when he walks. And these people might not have that swagger. And Jericho did go through a suit phase, obviously, during a run in his career, arguably the most successful run of his career in 2008. But I don't know. I don't think Jericho would come back in a suit. We'll see, though. I don't know. A lot of people speculating it's Andrade. A lot of people speculating Santos Escobar. That was just off the first video. So everybody's going crazy about just the one video. And this was dropped on Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, another video rolls up. And everyone is quick to point out, oh, that's a different pair of shoes. That's a different set of legs. That's got to be a different person. Okay. So then there was another video that was posted with shoes very similar to this. Okay, so we're all thinking, oh no. Is it more than one person now? Or is it the same person in a different scene? Okay, we'll see. But then, earlier today, one of the dead giveaways was posted. Another set of feet, this time in cowboy boots and jeans. And everyone is very quick to point out that's Brock Lesnar. That is certainly Brock Lesnar. To which I completely concur. So then we start thinking, okay, is this the vision? Is this Brock Lesnar aligning with the vision? Is this Brock Lesnar just aligning with them for War Games? What is this exactly? Well, then later today on Monday, we see this clip, and it's not of shoes anymore. This time, it's of a hand. And the hand is wearing a Hall of Fame ring. Now, those of you who follow wrestling very, very closely and look at details like this, you know that this hand belongs to the Oracle, the wise man, Paul Heyman. So then you look and it's like, okay, this is certainly the vision. It's certainly Brock aligning with Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman. That's what we're looking at here. But then that becomes solidified even more when a video drops just about a half hour before Monday Night Raw started tonight. And it was of someone pouring drinks into 4 glasses. So again, you think 4 glasses, 4 people, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, Brock Lesnar, and Paul Heyman. Okay, makes all the sense in the world, right? So this is a vision thing. Makes sense, right? Okay, fine. Especially when Paul Heyman is backstage tonight talking to Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and he alludes to Brock Lesnar, saying that the victimizer was coming next week. What? That's Brock Lesnar. So is Brock Lesnar coming to Monday Night Raw next week? Are we getting the return of Brock after Saturday night's main event ahead of War Games? We know that John Cena doesn't come back to Raw for a couple of weeks, so we'll have to see if any of that is connected at all. And then, before I show this final, let me just show the final clip. The final clip shown during Monday Night Raw before the main event tonight was of a spinning poker chip. And when the spinning poker chip stops, you see that it reads 2026, which all but confirms the reports that PW Insider put out earlier this morning that the shoes and the feet that we were looking at belong, in fact, do belong to Brock Lesnar, but also belong to Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And this is just a promo of WrestleMania 42. And this poker chip basically confirms that. What I didn't mention was that the drinks video, these are all about 15 seconds. The drinks video was actually posted by Triple H from Triple H's Twitter account, not the WWE Twitter account. All of the other ones were posted by WWE. So you wonder, it's like, what's Triple H's involvement here? Well, I think that Triple H is probably a little too public at this point. He's on the presidential, staff for the fitness thing. I don't know exactly what it's called. I'm going to butcher it. But regardless, he was appointed to the president's staff for this fitness initiative that they're doing. So because he's so public with that, I don't think he can be like deeply involved in the storyline. He can make an appearance here and there. I know that on the way to WrestleMania 41, Randy Orton called him out and wanted him to make the Kevin Owens match official. So I think he could still make appearances like that, obviously, but I don't think he can be that deep into a storyline to where he's tweeting this out for a reason because he's part of it. I don't think that's it at all. So I don't know why Triple H was the one tweeting it, other than confirming that it is a promo for WrestleMania. Now, that's a huge letdown because WWE, as I said at the top of the show, the whole world is talking about this. It's the thumbnail for our show tonight. Who's going to fill these shoes? Who do these shoes belong to? All for it to just be a promo for WrestleMania this year? Like, I know you want to drive attention, and I guess they're doing their job. They're being vague enough And we're sitting here talking about it. It's the lead topic on our show tonight. The internet wrestling community has been buzzing for the last couple of days. So they're doing their job. We're talking about it. Maybe not in the way we wanted, but we're talking about it. All that to say, they build up the excitement for nothing. Because listen, wrestling fans are going to be excited about WrestleMania anyway. So, I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting way to bring a promo in, but I don't know. I guess wrestling fans are probably disappointed now. I'm disappointed. I'll tell you that. But, at first we were disappointed because it's just the vision. It's just Brock joining it is what it is. Now, it's just a WrestleMania promo. It's not storyline related. It's just to hype up WrestleMania. Well, again, when you put stuff like this out there for wrestling fans, we are going to grab a hold of it. I had everybody texting me, all of my friends that are wrestling fans. Who do you think it is? What do you think? What do you see in it? It's like, oh, it's got to be Gunther. Oh, but there's socks. It sounds like there's rock music behind it. That wouldn't be Gunther. Rock music. That's Jericho. Is Jericho coming back in a suit? I don't know. Maybe to rocking for Santos Escobar. Andrade. Who knows what's going on with that? I don't know. We'll even speculate with Andrade. So I don't know. Had a lot of people talking, but I guess we'll just wait to see the full WrestleMania promo. But again, the poker chip that was shown tonight during Monday Night Raw to sort of cap off this 6 vignette series gives it away. 2026 WrestleMania 42 back in Las Vegas. The poker chip, the drinks, the suits, I guess. Okay. All right. So that's where we are. Just a poker chip and WrestleMania promo. All right. Let's talk about some wrestling, shall we? That is what the show's about. It's Squared Circle Radio, and Saturday night's main event is coming up this Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Peacock. Netflix internationally, I believe, but only on Peacock here in the States, not on NBC. And it is shaping up to be one of the biggest Saturday night's main event that WWE has put on, especially in this rebirth of Saturday night's main event. Some big 4 title matches on this show. The 4th one announced tonight on Monday Night Raw. 4 title matches. Let's get in to each and every one of them. And let's start with the vacant World Heavyweight Championship on the line. CM Punk, #1 contender, versus the man who won the Battle Royal last week to fill that second slot, Jey Uso. Main event, Jey Uso. Now, speaking of that Battle Royal, last week on WWE's YouTube channel, they posted a video of Jey winning the Battle Royal. They always post clips of Raw and everything on their YouTube channel. And that video is the most disliked video on WWE's YouTube channel. And that could be for a myriad of reasons. LA Knight came out tonight for his match, and somebody had a sign in the crowd that said that people wanted LA Knight, not Jey Uso. Well, maybe so. Maybe people are disappointed that Jey won the match. Maybe it's because they don't want to see the riff in the Usos. It's like WWE just put the Usos back together, and now we're having problems already. So I don't know. I don't know why people dislike this. I thought Jey Uso was one of the most popular wrestlers on the roster, but according to the internet, I guess not. I don't know, but the people if we learn anything from Bruce Pritchard and Triple H and Nick Khan and other guys that are talking about these kind of things, it's the people that buy the tickets and buy the merch that really, I don't want to say matter, but really drive the conversation, I guess. That's who the WWE is listening to. Not necessarily the internet wrestling community, but I digress. So, the rift between the Usos. A little bit of, definitely a rift tonight. You saw them backstage, and it was like they were at odds, and then they kind of made up. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they come out, how this whole thing transpires. Now, I'm going to look at this, and I've got scenarios for all three potential results here. I'm going to go through all three potential results. And you say, Chris, there's only two guys in the match. Well, there's a third scenario out there. So let's go through the scenarios. City Kitty live in the chat with us. Glad I still have Peacock. Yeah. You got to keep that Peacock subscription for a reason. They've got the library too. So you got to keep that Peacock subscription. Okay. So let's go through three scenarios here for CM Punk and Jey Uso. All right. So scenario number one is that CM Punk wins the match and he wins the World Heavyweight Championship. And we know that CM Punk had his 5 minutes of fame at SummerSlam before Seth Rollins took it away from him. So what if CM Punk wins this match? I think that is a very likely scenario. CM Punk is one of the most popular wrestlers on the roster, has been for a long time. We speculated last week the possibility of CM Punk turning heel and joining the Vision. And I said, you probably didn't want to turn him heel because he's been gone for so long. Excuse me. He's been gone for so long and people just want to love him. And he can easily carry the torch right now. Maybe you didn't want this to happen because you had long-term plans for Seth Rollins, but now he's injured, so you got to pivot, and CM Punk is a safe pivot. You're not taking any chances with that. Again, the people love CM Punk. That's an easy move. Plus, CM Punk is on the poster for Saturday night's main event. Like the main poster for the show, it's CM Punk and only CM Punk. So it's an easy win for WWE and for CM Punk if that were to happen. Scenario two is, oh wait, before I get to scenario two, I have a note here that I have to say. If CM Punk does win, I think you immediately, we saw this tonight with Braun Breaker trying to solidify himself as the next challenger for the World Heavyweight Championship, which he defeated LA Knight in a really good match tonight. In-ring work on Monday Night Raw tonight was really, really good. But I think you have to go Punk versus Braun Breaker. And maybe Punk is just the transitional champion to get the title on Braun Breaker. I don't know for sure, but in thinking about who's going to win this match, like Braun Breaker's got to be next. So we'll see. I don't know. But so that's a scenario if Punk wins. What if Jey wins? Well, if Jey wins, Jey solidifies himself as more than a flash in the pan champion. Like the WWE Unreal series was based on a big story in that series was the rise of Jey Uso. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it on Netflix. It's a really good watch. But it's all about the rise of Jey Uso and winning the Royal Rumble and winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. And he held the title for 3 months. And then Gunther beat him. And a lot of people were saying, oh, well, he couldn't have a long title reign because Jey Uso is not a sustainable champion. They wanted to just ride the momentum and see how far they could ride it. Jay's out of shape. He's not a great singles wrestler. Well, all of those things can be true at the same time of, well, he was a pretty good champion. Yeah, he's been a tag team wrestler his whole career, but tag team wrestlers come out of their shell. We're going to talk about Shawn Michaels later in the show when he was a tag team wrestler. Now he's considered the greatest in-ring performer of all time. So it's possible for tag guys to break out. And maybe giving Jey Uso the world championship again is a way to solidify that. Now, Jey could do this as a babyface. We know he can do that. We see his entrance. We see the encore of the song. We know the merch sales, all the things. But Jay's been getting this heel edge to him lately. You saw him in the promo with Punk on Raw tonight. And you see the way he's been interacting with his brother. You see the way he interacted with Roman when Roman was on the show. So we could see full on heel world champion Jey Uso. Now, I think you're probably taking a chance on Jey Uso being champion again. I think you're taking an even bigger chance if you turn him full on heel as the world champion. If you do that, how does that affect his brother? Do they go at it again for the world championship? I don't know. How does Roman Reigns fit into this whole thing? As you see the graphic on YouTube there of when Roman came back and he's encouraging Jey to take the reins and be the man. And, you got to earn it. You got to get out there and do it. Well, Roman is also the biggest babyface on the roster. And that's a roster with Jey Uso, CM Punk, and Cody Rhodes. So how does this affect Roman if Jey really is a heel champion? Or if he's a face champion? I don't know. I don't know how Roman fits into all this, because Roman has outright called that championship a second-rate championship. So if Jey wins it, how does Roman look at Jey? He says right now he'd be proud of him, but if he's holding the second-rate title, does that change things? I don't know. Let's look at the third scenario, because there is a third one. What if there's no champion? What if this match kicks off Saturday night's main event and we get a no contest? And you say, oh, Chris, that would be such a letdown. Would it? Because Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed still want revenge, clearly, for not being in that Battle Royal last week. So what's the best way to get revenge? You go out and interrupt this match. Nobody's going to be a champion. Braun Breaker steals the championship again. Okay. That's interesting. So how do you get out of that? You got Jimmy Uso could be out there. LA Knight could be out there. It could be a huge schmoz. And it would make sense. Because even before Seth Rollins got hurt, you had 4, 5, 6 people trying to get this world championship. So, how do you fix it? If you say, Chris, put on your fantasy booking hat. If you're doing that, where do you go with it? Well, you have a good old-fashioned tournament. And that tournament ends at Survivor Series, where we crown a world heavyweight champion. Well, Chris, you don't want to be on Monday Night Raw for a long time without a champion. Why not? And make it interesting. So, you do a tournament. The winner of the tournament is the world heavyweight champion. I think it's a fine idea. I think it's interesting. Now, is that likely what WWE is going to do? Probably not. But here on Squared Circle Radio, when we give predictions, when we preview shows, we try to talk about the scenarios that can happen. But our predictions are not necessarily what we think is going to happen. It's a prediction of, if I had the pencil, as the old saying goes, if I had the book, this is how I would book it. Excuse me. And how I would book it is there would be no finish to this match. Why? Because it raises more questions than it gives answers. Now, could CM Punk or Jey Uso win the match and you still have the big schmoz at the end with Breaker and Reed laying everybody out? Of course you can. Because as I stated a few minutes ago, Braun Breaker needs to be the next challenger for this championship. And what a way to stake your claim by just laying the champion out. Easily you can do that. But a schmoz finish and no champion? I think to me that makes people tune in a lot more and say, oh, I wonder what's going to happen with what are they going to do with the title now? Tune in to Monday Night Raw and we'll find out. Because then the heat gets on Breaker, Reed, and Heyman a whole lot more. So then when Adam Pearce gets in their face and says, boys, I don't like the way that you did things, and he almost suspends them, and then here comes Brock Lesnar. And he F5s Adam Pearce. Then you got real problems. That's a possibility. That's where I'd go with it. I would have a big schmoz finish at Saturday night's main event. No world champion coming out of the show. All right. You notice me coughing there a couple of times if you're watching this live. Swig of water, actually, for the working man here. Should have filled up with some more water before I started. Anyway, I digress. Okay. So that is one match that is confirmed for Saturday night's main event. Let's talk about the other World Championship match. Both World Championships on the line this Saturday as Saturday night's main event. And this one, over on SmackDown, it's Cody Rhodes and it's Drew McIntyre. The WWE Championship is up for grabs. And these guys have been just going at each other's throats since WrestlePalooza, the first PLE on ESPN back in September. Again, I think this one could go either way. I really do. If we're looking at results, just like we broke down Jey Uso versus CM Punk, look at the result of this one. This could really go either way. I don't think there's a schmoz scenario in this one, but I assume this main events the show and Punk and Jay open the show. So if you're main eventing the show with Cody versus Drew, let's look at the way you could go with this. So you've got Cody Rhodes retaining the championship. What would that look like? I know City Kitty, if she's still watching in the chat, she wants to hear this, what we have to say about Cody Rhodes retaining the championship. Cody Rhodes standing tall at the end of Saturday night's main event. Okay. You had that same result at WrestlePalooza because Cody beat Drew clean at WrestlePalooza. He stood tall at the end of the night. There was no schmoz. There was no interference. There was no nothing. Cody just won. And it was a really good match. But Cody just won. There she is, City Kitty. You know I'm taking Cody for the win, but it's going to be a great match. Listen. Yeah, it's going to be a great match. Two of the best in-ring performers on the roster right now. Two guys with similar paths, blazing their trails, leaving the WWE and coming back. Like, this is one of the feuds. Remember, for those of you out there who are watching this, Cody Rhodes has only been pinned a handful of times since he returned to the WWE 3 years ago. And one of those guys to pin him was Drew McIntyre. So that makes this match very, very interesting. This feud very, very interesting. So Cody wins. He's standing tall at the end of the night, just like at WrestlePalooza. So what do you gain by that? Well, if I'm being honest, I don't know. But I think there's a scenario where you can gain something. I'll address that in just a second. Drew McIntyre, if Drew wins, oh man. Drew, we can all agree, needs a proper run with the WWE Championship. He won it in front. His big moment was supposed to be at WrestleMania 36, but he won it in an empty performance center. And he carried this company in the pandemic era. Nobody was in the building. And when people finally get back in the building, he's not the champion anymore. And he never had a run with the title. And then finally at WrestleMania 40, he wins the championship and then gets cashed in on. Wins Money in the Bank, tries to cash it in, and loses. He's had a couple of shots at the title since, but he has not won it. So his character, as I just ran through those scenarios, his character is obviously based on chasing the championship. That's what drives Drew. His obsession with being the WWE champion. I think that's what people really like about his character too. Is like, if there is what wrestling's supposed to be all about top prizes, right? Even in sports, the NFL, you want to win the Super Bowl. In baseball, you want to win the World Series. NBA, you want to win the finals. You know, the Larry O'Brien trophy. All of these sports have one major goal. So what's better than a wrestler whose singular focus is the championship? I do nothing but chase that championship. Whoever's got it, doesn't matter. I'm chasing it. Damian Priest, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, doesn't matter. Drew's on your heels. So that may be one of the reasons why WWE keeps booking him to lose, is because they feel like they would be giving the fans what they want. Because I think fans do want to see Drew win the championship, because Drew has worked his tail off for the last couple of years to make his character meaningful and telling great stories outside of the championship picture. So if you give Drew the championship, what is his character then? Yeah, we want him to have it. Yeah, he deserves to have it. And he would be a great champion. He's proved that his character is incredible. And obviously he has great matches. But if he wins the title, what's his character at that point? So I think WWE wants to keep Drew as hated as possible. And maybe you do that without him having the championship. So here's my prediction for the match. City Kitty, I'm going to go ahead and apologize to you in advance. Before WrestlePalooza, there were some reports floating around that Randy Orton should show up and, I'm using air quotes if you're listening on podcast, accidentally cost Cody the championship. So they didn't do it at WrestlePalooza. We haven't seen Randy Orton in a couple weeks. I don't know how Randy gets involved, but imagine the pop when his music hits and he comes out and accidentally costs Cody Rhodes. So I would do it here. I would have Orton come out and accidentally do something that costs Cody Rhodes the championship. Drew wins, thus beginning the feud of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Although, when you think about it, the feud with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton should be based on the title, though, right? I mean, sure, they have all of this history with each other, the legacy and this, that, and the other. So, and we've seen one Cody and Randy match already, the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. And there was no title there. And everybody was entertained by that match. That was great. But you look back over over Cody's whole title run, Randy's been eyeing that championship. So I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to rethink my prediction as I'm talking through it here. Maybe, yes, we want to see Cody versus Randy, but we want to see it for the title, right? Because we want the payoff of Randy staring at the championship. And that fuel, we talked about the fuel of Drew McIntyre, that fuel of Randy Orton, wanting to be the 16-time champion, wanting one more title run before he hangs it up. So maybe Cody does win so that he and Randy okay, here we go. What if Orton does come out and he accidentally tries to cost Cody the championship, but it doesn't work? Maybe it backfires. So we saw Randy at the King of the Ring at Night of Champions, I think that's when it was, lose to Cody. And we saw Cody giving Randy his props in that promo, and Randy looking over his shoulder. And he kind of had that menacing look on his face. So that was step one. And then now maybe Randy comes out and he tries to cost Cody the championship, and he fails. So it's like, crap, strike two. Randy fails again. Man, what's it going to take to finally dethrone Cody? What's it going to take to beat Cody? Well, Orton keeps making mistakes and it doesn't work. And finally, Orton just gets fed up, and Orton loses it. And Orton finally turns heel and faces Cody for the championship as a heel. Maybe that's my prediction. City Kitty in the chat. Yes, Cody Randy has to happen at some point. Yes, it does. And I think it has to happen for the championship. So I'm changing my prediction on the fly here. I think Cody Rhodes wins this match, but it's Randy Orton attempting to cost Cody the match, but it backfires. So you continue Drew's drive of not having the championship. Yes, Cody stands tall, but it's by the skin of his teeth. And we see a seething Randy Orton. Cody doesn't see it, but maybe the camera gets a glimpse of a seething Randy Orton who tried to cost Cody, but it didn't work. I think that's a good. I'm going to stick with that. So Cody Rhodes wins by the skin of his teeth. All right. Another world championship match from the SmackDown brand. Before we get there, though, let's pay a couple of bills. Let's hear a little word from our friend, the Reverend Tom Bryce, in SportsWire Radio.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck, because SportsWire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. With great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows. New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska. The Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip. Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind. Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, SportsWire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on SportsWireRadio.org, and you can also catch SportsWire Radio anytime on YouTube at SportsWire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. SportsWire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on SportsWire Radio. I am your host, the owner of SportsWire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
And if you are listening on SportsWire Radio, thank you so much for doing that. You just heard the gamut of content that is on SportsWire Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Keep it locked in right here on SportsWire Radio for all of that great content. And if you're not a SportsWire Radio listener, head on over. Go check it out. Some incredible stuff over there on SportsWire Radio. Some great stuff on the SportsWire Radio YouTube channel. So you want to go check that out as well. They do, obviously, when the show is live, they're live on Facebook and they're live on YouTube and all that. So you can watch the guys and all that kind of stuff. So some great content over there. Go check it out. All right. The WWE Women's Championship is going to be on the line at Saturday night's main event. Tiffany Stratton once again locking horns with Jade Cargill, but this time it's going to be a little bit different of a dynamic. Now, I'm going to be honest. I didn't really want to see this match again until we get the heel turn from Jade Cargill this past Friday on SmackDown. And man, that just brings a whole new dynamic to this match. I'm anxious to see how this goes now. Not that I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be honest, I'm not. But a heel Jade Cargill, I've said it on the show before. I think Tiffany's championship reign is getting a little bit lax. I think it's lacking some. I mean, everybody talks in WWE about her undefeated streak in 2025, which she's only wrestled like 18 matches or so. And it just, I don't know. Excuse me, I'm fighting the Tennessee allergies again. Be with me here as I power through the crud. Tiffany's had all these matches with Nia Jax and Jade Cargill, and it just doesn't seem like it was all exciting when she won the title, when she was going to face Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. But beyond that, it's been like, wait a minute. Don't know that there's a lot of formidable opponents on SmackDown. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe Jade Cargill wins this match in a squash. You know, a lot of Jade's time in AEW, they were spending building her like Goldberg. So maybe she goes on a Goldberg streak and she just squashes Tiffany. And then she just squashes people, establishes her dominance. City Kitty live with us. It's Tiffy time to take that title away and put it on someone else. I like that. And that someone else is Jade Cargill. And your next comment is exactly where I was going next. It's like you read my mind. City Kitty needs Bianca back. Well, listen, Jade Cargill wins this championship as a heel. You better believe we are building to Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. Whether we get a tease at War Games, whether Bianca comes back and wins the Rumble, I don't think you need any of that. This writes itself. Bianca versus Jade at WrestleMania. And I hate to say it, because honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Bianca. Definitely not a huge fan of Jade. But if that's built right, that could be night one main event of WrestleMania 42. Is that what we're on? 42? Yeah. That could be main event of WrestleMania 42. So, yeah, we're building to Bianca Belair right here. Jade and Bianca. And that's to me, that's where we're headed. So, Jade and Tiffany, we'll see how it goes. Round 3, I think it is, between these two, but we'll see how it goes coming up this Saturday night's main event. On Raw tonight, it was announced that Dominic Mysterio will defend the Intercontinental Championship in a triple threat match against Penta and Rusev. Triple threat match is an easy way to get the title off Dom if you need that to happen. So it's also an easy way for him to get a cheap win. If Penta hits, a Mexican Destroyer on Rusev and Dom can throw Penta out of the ring and pin Rusev, easy way to do that too. So we'll see how that one transpires. I don't know. I don't know what you do with Dom. I don't know if he keeps the Intercontinental title or not. Oh, we'll have to see. I don't know. All right. One more thing to get to. Actually, technically, it's 3 more things to get to here before we close up shop. We appreciate you guys being tuned in live with us as City Kitty is. Man, Penta needs the title here, she says. I agree. I definitely think he does. I think Penta would be a great Intercontinental champion. I don't know. Dom's on this momentum streak right now, being this double champ and what they're doing. I almost think they'll keep both titles on him until Liv comes back to see what they do with. I don't know. I have no idea. So that Dom can say, hey, Liv, aren't you proud of me? I've got 2 titles now that you've been gone. And she can say, no, you're fooling around with Roxanne, et cetera, whatever. I don't know. But I agree, City Kitty. Penta needs a title. Got to figure out how to get there, but I agree with you. I have to mention, before we talk about this day in wrestling history, because that's a loaded this day in wrestling history, the main event of Monday Night Raw tonight, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defending the tag titles against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. What a match. That was really, really good. One of the best women's tag matches that we have seen in a long, long time, I think. So, kudos to those 4 ladies. Man, really, really good. All right. This day in wrestling history, October the 27th. I was looking it up earlier and I didn't realize how much history that October the 27th has in the world of wrestling. You don't believe me? Let me take you on a journey here. Let's go back to 1991. I'm talking about Halloween Havoc and the infamous Chamber of Horrors match. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Let me throw this graphic up here on YouTube, and you see Abdullah the Butcher sitting in this chamber with this interesting headgear on him, and you see guys climbing a cage. And let me just explain to you what's going on here in this match. So I almost think this was kind of ahead of its time, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was kind of like the Punjabi prison. It was a great idea on paper, and then execution is just terrible. So the Chamber of Horrors match is a huge cage, almost like a Hell in a Cell. And then in the middle of it is an electric chair, basically. And you put somebody in the electric chair, you strap them in, and then one of your teammates has to go climb the outside of the cage. There's a lever to activate the electric chair. So when that lever gets pulled, the electric chair gets activated and your team loses. Well, the way that it happened in 1991 was Abdullah the Butcher was put in the electric chair, and Cactus Jack, who was his teammate, accidentally pulls the lever and shocks his teammate, and they lose the match. So again, great idea in theory, and I don't think execution worked out though. City Kitty, that looks old Sparky chair. Yeah, it does. It just great idea in theory. Fun as a kid though. 1991, I was almost 3 years old. Wasn't watching this live, but man, I can't tell you how many times I went back and watched the Chamber of Horrors match. Sting was in it. Scott Hall was in it as the Diamond Stud. Steiner Brothers, Vader, those kind of guys. A fun match, a star-studded match, really was. But 1991 Halloween Havoc, Chamber of Horrors. And Halloween Havoc was always notorious for great entrance sets. And as you see here on your YouTube screen, that the house there, the door opened up and that was the entranceway. I think they only used it for part of the event, at least this match and a couple others. But it was a really cool entrance set, really cool way that they did this. So WCW, going back to my childhood there, fun things to watch. Let's go back. Let's go to the next year, 1992. Talking about Saturday night's main event was the last WWF Saturday night's main event, October the 27th, 1992. Now, this wasn't the air date. This was the filming date. So it was filmed October 27th, 1992. I think it aired in, I want to say January, like early January. I could be wrong on that, but it's significant, of course, because Saturday night's main event is coming up this week, but it's also significant because it was the night that Shawn Michaels had just become a singles wrestler not that long before this. He wins his first singles championship, the Intercontinental Championship, over the British Bulldog at Saturday night's main event. So, very timely. And of course, I mentioned him earlier. Shawn was a tag team guy. He had just split from the Rockers, wins his first singles championship, and then off to the races with Shawn Michaels. Speaking of Shawn Michaels and winning singles championships, I'm pretty sure tonight's Monday Night Raw was held at the same venue where Shawn won his first world championship, WrestleMania 12, 1996. The boyhood dream comes true. So very interesting that we're holding Raw in the same venue as WrestleMania. You wouldn't see that these days, but 1996, business was a little down. We were in arenas for WrestleMania, but that's neither here nor there. Just a fun look back at this day in wrestling history. All right. That is going to do it. As I said a minute ago, should have poured some more water before this show. My throat is dry. I'm losing it. It's time for me to put a bow on this edition of Squared Circle Radio. I appreciate you guys being with us. City Kitty live in the chat. Thank you so much. If you guys have questions or you have comments, drop them in the chat. I'll go back and answer each one of them. That would mean the world to me. It would also mean the world if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does not cost you a thing, but it helps us tremendously. hit the thumbs up button on the video. That helps our algorithm. And maybe more importantly than any of that, share the show on your social medias, because your circle is far more reachable by you than it is by me. If you have wrestling fans in your circle, tell them about the show. Let's build this community. That would mean the world to me as well. All right. It's been a loaded week of wrestling. It's going to be a loaded week next week as we recap Saturday night's main event. City Kitty emphasizing, yes, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for that. And again, if you're watching this or you're listening to this, do that as well. I appreciate that so much. We're going to recap Saturday night's main event coming up next week, so make sure that you're tuned into the show for that. All right. Thank you, guys. This has been another edition of Squared Circle Radio. My name is Chris Belcher, and we will catch you guys down the road.